Welcome to Rev Up Your Business with Hilda Gann. We are now in season 5, and we've changed the name and the focus of the podcast. Rev Up Your Business is the podcast for small to medium-sized business owners, entrepreneurs, and HR professionals. Each week, we share tips, strategies, and trends on how you can build success in your business. I share my expertise as a people-centric leader in work culture and human resources. My guests share their expertise in human resources, marketing, sales, finance, IT, leadership, and the multiple facets that you need to take care of your business. If you love to learn and want to find out how you can rev up your business, join us. Welcome to another episode of Rev Up Your Business. Today is the 100th episode of Rev Up Your Business. 100, and I am so excited. I've invited my friend and colleague, Jan Campbell, and we are focusing on entrepreneurship. We are going to share the wisdom of over 50 years combined of being an entrepreneur. So let me tell you a little about Jan, and we'll get started. So Jan is the founder and CEO of Strategisense Consulting, and she has over 30 years of experience working with hundreds of organizations around the world to bring about transformative change in the nonprofit, government, education, and corporate sectors. She's committed to understanding organizations and individuals and has led them as a trusted advisor on strategy, governance, leadership development, operational effectiveness, organizational design, equity, diversity, and inclusion. She is a certified executive coach, facilitator, consultant, and speaker, supporting executive leaders and teams to expand their ability to clarify strategy, to lead change, build adaptive organizations, and advance people in their careers. She's held a number of progressive management roles in senior management, and she's led her own entrepreneurial ventures. Jan has also served on numerous local, municipal, and provincial committees and boards. She's recently been a member of the University Health Network and Centennial College boards and the Education Committee of the Michener Institute in Toronto. Jan is deeply committed to removing systemic barriers that impact equity-deserving communities by bringing awareness to the disparities in systems where people of color are disproportionately affected. In fact, in 2012, Jan founded the Black Women's Leadership Network to create a sustainable network where women of color access personal and professional support to fulfill and reach their potentials on their own terms. That network has grown today to over 1,000 women globally. It's my pleasure to have known Jan for so many years and to be able to invite her to talk about our experiences in entrepreneurship on this 100th episode. Thank you, Jan, for coming and joining me today.
Thank you, Hilda, and congratulations, 100 episodes. It's such a thrill and honor to be here to celebrate this with you and to share some of what we've learned and have a dialogue together. Looking forward to it.
Well, when I thought about, it's 100th episode, I need to do something special. And then I thought, so how can I make it special? I thought, well, I'm just going to focus on entrepreneurship. And who better to kind of talk about entrepreneurship and our different journeys, because we're going to dialogue on that, than to invite you to join me. So I'm so glad you're here. Maybe we'll start by getting you to share your journey. Sort of, how did it begin? What was that desire to switch from those progressive management roles that you had to starting your own business?
Well, I'll actually offer that if I think about sort of the journey of working, my workforce journey, really, I entered the workforce at the age of 17. And at the time, I'll never forget, my mother provided me with well-intended guidance, informed by her experience, where at 20 years of age, she traveled to England from her own country, Jamaica, to train as a nurse, and then came to Canada in the late 1950s to start her 40-year career as a nurse in our healthcare system. And she gave me advice, about working hard, needing to work hard. And actually, she said to me at 17 years of age that as a woman, you need to work twice as hard to get ahead in the workforce. And so I remember
She gave you her wisdom of that time.
maybe her wisdom. And then she said to me, to succeed as a Black woman, you need to work 5 times as hard.
Wow.
And I know that, in my kind of early formative years in the workplace, actually really put that to the test and, showed up and contributed, worked hard, actually nose down, head down, working away, and really getting probably burned out in terms of that experience. And I remember that catalyst for my entrepreneurial journey, from transitioning from, being in the workplace, and I had some really fulfilling and interesting jobs, really enjoyed what I did, but still feeling unfulfilled and doing the 5 times as hard thing as well. I got feedback from a mentor that I was suggesting, or I was celebrating a promotion. I've been promoted. I was working at a large global consulting firm, and I'd just been promoted, from a junior position to the next level of junior position. I was so with my raise and my bigger cubicle, and I remember a colleague, a mentor of mine, saying to me, why, here you are celebrating, and congratulations to you, but know that you have other opportunities. Why let corporations define your ceilings when you can define them for yourself?
Wow. Wow.
And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, why? Okay, I could do this. And with a few prompts from a few colleagues who were asking me for advice on how to strengthen governance in their organizations, or how to uh, map out strategy projects. I do the back of a napkin at a lunch or a coffee with my pen and give them ideas and give them the napkin. And one day, one of my colleagues pushed the napkin back to me and said, "I can't do this. You come and do this for us." And that was my first client. So
I
I
like these napkin type stories.
like that. And so that was my first client. So I launched my consulting business sort of I think 3 back of the napkin conversations in a couple of months. Next thing I had 3 clients. And so I launched a consulting business. And it was at the time with a goal of making a difference in society. And that still is. At the time, it still is. Making a difference in society, bringing my skills, specifically at the time, to the nonprofit and public sectors. And so I learned a lot by working in a big consulting firm and working across, dozens of projects, and learned all these skills. And I wanted an opportunity. At the time, I wasn't able to articulate this, but I wanted an opportunity in being able to contribute to the not-for-profit sector. And there were aspects of the values inherent in social justice, in the social justice sectors, that really resonated for me, and I wanted to be a part of that. But I knew I didn't want to deliver services, client-facing or public-facing services. The work felt purposeful and meaningful for me. And so now today, so over 24 years later and over 600 projects later, with hundreds of organizations and thousands of people impacted by my work, I've really learned a lot. And I've learned that my entrepreneurship has been a tool for social change and having an impact broadly.
I mean, I started my nursing career because, it's good at science and math, and I wanted to do something in that. But more importantly, I wanted to help people, make a difference, help people. And to me, the nursing idea seemed to be good. And in those days, there were very fewer options. There were fewer options for women. And so I date myself, so to speak. But I thought, no, this is good. This is what I want to do. And I think it gives me a great satisfaction. And I think back on my 7 years now as in this most recent iteration of entrepreneurship. And I forget that one of my earlier projects was working on mental health. And a group of us came together, and very proudly I share that we identified the core competencies for mental health and addiction workers who are in housing, supporting mental health people in housing. We identified the core competencies. We then created curriculum for them to do it, and then we put it into an online service. It's still available today on the ONFA site, the Ontario Nursing Public Housing Association site, where people can actually take the training for it. And I'm thinking, wow, how many lives have we implemented to make them feel more competent, to make the people who are in those homes feel that they're connected with their workers and that they're there to help them. So I can only imagine how many of those 600 projects where you feel just so proud for what you've done.
Yeah, I do. It's when it's on moments like this, like having these conversations. So hearing about your work in contributing to nursing, right, and to how the work that we get to do is amplified, right. So I think about my work in organizations, which we work across all sectors, corporate and not for profit sectors, and I see the amplification of contribution, right. So you might work with one individual who then works with their team, and then that gets amplified within the organization as others learn from the work that we do with a team. Or when we work with an agency, a nonprofit agency that might be serving thousands of individuals, and we're working on helping to strengthen capacity, that our work helps that organization to amplify their impact. And that is so rewarding. That's what drives me. That's what fuels me, is
I can see the smile on your face when you do that.
making a contribution at that level. And in particular, with the streams of work that we get to do at Strategisense, some of the work in, again, the non-for-profit social justice spaces where we, working with the BAW sector, for example, or community-based health and social service agencies or foundations, nationally and internationally, all are mandated to ameliorate or improve the factors that limit people's abilities to thrive and experience well-being. You think about poverty, education, housing, food access, making a difference that way in contributing in those organizations, and in other like service-based or product-based industries that are improving people's lives by the products and services that they provide. That all, it's like, I'm a bit geeky about that. I love to see that we're actually helping to build capacity in the organizations that have those mandates that are purpose-driven, mission-focused.
And I love
Make a difference.
your talk about impact, right? And I can remember, again, pre entrepreneurship, I was in the hospital setting, and I was being considered. Well, my director said, Hilda, if you think you're ready for a director role, I agree. And I thought, I'm a manager. That's all I'm thinking right now. I never thought, and I thought, do I want to be a director? Because now I'm getting further away from the bedside, and as a manager, you're directly influencing your staff, you're nurturing them, you're growing them, and you're watching that growth. And then I thought, ooh, a director, then I'm managing managers. But then I realized, no, Hilda, now you are helping managers who then in turn are helping other people to grow and develop. You're just taking that sphere of using your knowledge in that sphere to impact on more. And when I hear your joy, I emulate that. I hear that and I support that, because the more we rise to our capacity and abilities, the more we have more impact to help others. Our role may be different, it may be shifted, but we are touching lives. And some of those lives we never know that we've touched, but we know we have had some impact to do that.
I love that. Thank you, Hilda. The experience of supporting managers and who lead people, and managers and individual contributors spend the majority of their days at work, right, or on their way to work and on the way home from work, right, and or virtually if they're working virtually, where you spend a majority of your weeks in work, and so having life affirming experiences at work where you learn, you nurture, you grow, and certainly you earn income, right? But there's that opportunity to grow and make a contribution and having supporting leaders to be able to do that, which is kind of where we focus at Strategisense, is really a joy. I'll also offer, which I find is interesting for me over the last sort of latter half of my company's existence. We've grown and scaled as a company, and so now I spend more of my time than in the beginning of years of my business, where I was a solo practitioner working with mostly with contractors. But today I'm spending more of my time thinking about myself as an employer, thinking
Mhm.
about the lives that we impact at Strategisense, people who are employed, and this is a place for meaningful work, and people can actually bring and contribute to what has heart and meaning for them in through their work. And that it has been a big shift for me in my thinking about impact and what brings joy, that I and work collaboratively to co-create an environment as an employer for people to experience, and have meaningful experiences in the work and the ways they contribute.
And as an entrepreneur on an entrepreneur's journey, that's that shift from solopreneur. I have it all. I have control. If I need to hire people, I hire people. To really shifting to CEO mentality. I'm a leader. I'm responsible for all of those people. And I remember in the early days of iTrans, the engineering company my husband and I had, we were about 25 at that time, and you're interviewing people and you're selling them on what they can expect to go. And I remember looking around the office and seeing the 25 people and so proud, and telling this candidate about what a great company, we have, etc. And then as I'm saying it, I'm suddenly realizing I'm looking at the 25 people. Oh my God, we're responsible for the lives of all these people, their families, their mortgages. And instantly I think, oh my God, we can't screw up. We've got to make sure that we are a viable company, because these people are dependent on us being the effective leaders to keep a business successful. And then as immediately as that sheer fear factor went in, it's okay. I'm so proud. And I went back to being proud of what we created, and
Yeah.
not worrying about if we screw up, what happened.
Yeah. Oh, I love to hear that shift, right? Moving from, certainly, fear can be a motivator and can
Yeah.
be supportive of staying in action, staying on top of things. But I hear you moving more to the aspiration, and I think that's where I spend the majority of my time. Not that fear isn't present, but what drives and motivates me is the aspiration of impact and impact for all. And so, people in our company, there are 11 employees right now, and we have an ecosystem of about 20 contractors who work with us. And so, in ways that we are, trying to stay aligned with the principles and values that I founded the company on, and how we treat each other, how we work together, um, how we make choices to employ people, their contracts, their pay, all these aspects of being an employer, and kind of expressing the values that I have and the vision that I have and the impact I want to have. Those are inspiring and motivating me every day for excellence, and and staying in integrity with that.
And you and I've known each other for a long time, and I've always, your strategic capability, your mental ability to think about strategy, to think about visioning, to help clients really move forward from a strategic point of view versus a reactive, or what's to do today. It's the visioning kind, and that always impressed me of one of your strengths, your ability to sort all that out. And through that, that desire to be a collaborator, not just in with your clients coming to a solution, but to embrace that with your team and the people you hire to fit into that mission. What I say is, you have a mission, vision, and values, and you hire people, you create your processes, you you have the kinds of clients that all fit into that. So it's just like one nice tidy bundle, and it keeps you on track. to make sure you have the right clients, because this is your mission and value, not to do this kind of client over here, but to do a client that follows your mission and values system. And the same with the people you hire, and the same with the processes that you have. If you're in a quality assurance business, you better have good checks and balances in your process. If you're a customer service, you better have good customer service processes and client and staff who really, their duty is to serve. It's not like, I don't do coffee here, like, no, if you're in the customer service business, you love to do coffee here, right? This is the difference. Were you always, was entrepreneurship in your blood or in your family's DNA? I ask that because sometimes it does make a difference.
Well, it's interesting you asked that question. So there are family members. I have family members who are entrepreneurs and some who, have been serial entrepreneurs. I've learned from like aunts and uncles. My father was an entrepreneur. He started off as a mechanic employed and then had his own garage and then moved into real estate.
That's a big switch.
Yeah, it's a big switch. So a real estate agent. So I did see, and I think at one point he also, I remember at one point when I was younger, he also imported and sold as a distributor for items that he sold as well, and that he imported. So I remember seeing all those items. He had a little side hustle going on as well. So that was modeled for me, certainly. Being self-sufficient as an entrepreneur. I'll offer too, for women, and I'm going to say for Black women as well, but for women, that entrepreneurship is an advancement strategy, like is a tactic for advancement, particularly for those who may feel, and I'll say for myself, who might have felt limited in the workplace in terms of opportunities, right? So like that opportunities abound in entrepreneurship, can create your own future, right?
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
That was also sort of around me in the early days. Although in the beginning, I'd say I first started with the idea of being just a solopreneur for a bit. I'll just do my thing because I like to do strategy, and I'll charge people to do it. I'll do it for them, and then maybe I'll move back into an organization at some point in the future. But then, here I am.
And why did that change? Because you got steady business or what?
Well, here I am I'm about to talk about my being a strategist without a strategy in the beginning. I didn't start off with this grand big business plan. Didn't go up there to try to find seed funding, and just kind of grow a business. It was more, I had a love for strategy and working with organizations and contributing in that way. And so started doing that work in the beginning. And yes, I got busy. I was really busy. So within the first couple of months, I had 3 clients, 6 clients. I went to an accountant and said I wanted to incorporate. And he said, "Are you sure you should just stay a solo practitioner? It's much easier." I'm like, no, I'm serious about this. I'm going to continue to do this and see where I go from here. But I was so busy that, yes, it just kept going. And then I started to build out a business model of different portfolios of services. So strategy and governance training, like development of boards and restructuring of boards, and then added on more of the organizational development work, restructuring of organizations, management structures, and did a lot of deep work in that area for many years. So that expanded. And then about 15 years ago, a client asked me to coach one of their leaders. And again, opportunity, right? Okay, sure, I'll give that a try. And then I liked it, and I thought, let me formalize and learn more about the skill of coaching, the methodology of coaching. And I saw that in all the work that I was doing in the beginning, that was more strategy, technical, helping organizations kind of figure out and clarify and develop work plans and recommendations and strategies. Implementation was an opportunity, and people were challenged with implementation as individuals, as teams, as organizations. How do you get the work integrated into the organization? And so that's where the thinking about developing the potential of leaders and how they lead change, how they lead strategy, led to my building of a leadership practice and now a whole body of work and curriculum around supporting leaders. And then recently I've added executive search to our portfolio, and we've been quite busy in helping organizations to define what they're looking for in terms of top tier talent and finding talent, in particular a diverse slate of talents, talented individuals for them to choose from.
No, that's a nice feature to have. And given all your experience of, working with so many leaders over the years, you can help a company define what they're looking for,
Yeah.
and hire that, what I
Yes.
say is the right fit. It's so important. People, and I know people get it at the executive level, but at all levels, hiring for fit is so important. I mean, statistics will tell you when people's value systems don't align, those employers you hired will not stay
Yeah.
within 6 months. They realize, they say within 2 weeks of somebody hiring, they look around and they know whether this is a fit or not fit. And those people who realize it's not a fit, they could be gone in 3 months, maybe 6, but for sure within a year. I want to share with you the entrepreneur DNA, because my parents owned a grocery store. I grew up with business and watching businesses develop and grow in my blood. And my husband also comes from a restaurateur family, father, grandfather. And when he decided to start his business, that's when I got into the entrepreneur business. But he was the idea guy for engineering. I was the person who had gotten all this experience in being a business ops person. And that's what I did. I was the person that created the foundation, that executed whatever from a functional operations point of view. So I never thought of me being an entrepreneur, but then I did a couple of other entrepreneur things, this one being the largest. And then when we sold the company, I thought, what do I want to do? And so I did a few things. I did another entrepreneur role, and then I started working for a company. And then I decided, okay, so what do I want to do? Do I want to work for another company now, or do I want to start my business? And it took me that long to realize that entrepreneurship was in my DNA. I just always, I was executioning things, so I didn't know it. But every time I talked to an entrepreneur, my adrenaline would get going, and I would be so excited. I was so happy for them, because I think there's a special kind of person who really can be an entrepreneur that's comfortable, that knows how to take risks, and doesn't have sleepless nights all the time, right?
Yes.
When you're in fear and living in fear, you're going to be the kind of entrepreneur that's doing it for a year, 2, 3 years, and then all of a sudden you're so happy that somebody came to you and said, hey, I got a job that thinks, you do well at. And, truly they wanted that experience, but maybe not truly entrepreneurs. So when we're sharing our 50 plus, which is more closer to 60 years of entrepreneurship, we're coming from that DNA, from those lessons learned along the way. And maybe you can share some of those high and low moments of your career, or of your entrepreneurship and business.
Sure. No, this is such a great conversation. You're bringing back a lot of, the learnings and the experiences that I've had that have been formative for me, right? You
Mhm.
described being entrepreneurship being in your DNA. Well, it wasn't in mine. I had to really figure it out. I wasn't exposed to a lot of it
Yep, yep.
deeply, immersed in it. So really figuring it out. And the models that I had or knew at the time were kind of these weird caricatures on TV of, business owners, entrepreneurs, whether it's sitcoms or dramas, or, business case models from business school. But they didn't typically look like me, look like, sound like, kind of approach life like me, right? And so I think back to when I went to business school, the models were, like automotive leaders and banking leaders were usually the ones that were being held up as like the ones to
Yeah, yeah,
follow.
yeah.
So like, my early lessons learned are, really about how to define my model, how to define my leadership style, how to define my entrepreneurial leadership style, my philosophy and approach, and to follow that unashamedly, unabashedly, right? Like that it may look different from others. And it took me some while to find that, right? Because I think in the beginning, I started off my work, I started off my career, my entrepreneurship, like um, joining all kinds of boards and going to every networking session, submitting RFPs for everything that I could find, just really working competitive, dominating, kind of glorifying overwork as well. So lots there, huge lesson learned. It took a lot of work on, said yes to everything, overpromised, over delivered, burnt out, tired, really exhausted. And you talk about the importance of being aware of fear, noticing lots of fear and fear-based striving. And my own internal messaging about what it takes to survive, and to race to get ahead in my career and working hard. And yes, you can get far that way, but it's hard to sustain that. I learned that really early on. You say the highs and lows. They were both highs and lows for me in terms of
Yeah.
lessons learned. And I learned, through some exposure to personal growth and development work. I'm working with a coach personally myself and taking courses and having great, strong mentors who actually held up a mirror to me at the time to say, really, what's matters for you here? Purpose and your values and vision and an opportunity to really align who I am, my style as an individual, as an entrepreneur, authentically with the choices I was making in leadership, in my leadership and in my business. And so, and that took some falling down. It took some stumbling. It took some, having clients be upset with either the approaches I was using or the delivery of the work, having staff or contractors expressing discontent, and really learning about not slowing down to learn and connect with and engage and work effectively and collaborate effectively with my colleagues, being burnt out and tired, not really showing up with my best self for sure. And then I went through a period of like the creating and exploring and growing and learning with coach and mentors and colleagues. I started like hiring consultants for myself and taking courses, probably going a little bit too far, but learning, learning about other models. And I remember at one point saying, wow, no, I'm getting all these consultants' advice, some really good and well-intended, but never feeling right, not somebody else's model or recommendations,
Yep. Yep.
not mine, not mine personally. And so really taking a moment to pause and slow down and did some work, personal work around defining my principles, my values, my approach to the work that I want to do, and working with a coach who really helped me tap into my inner wisdom. And I will offer, when I kind of got grounded, kind of shed some of the striving, a lot of the striving, shifted my whole approach to work, started doing business in a way that aligned with my principles and my values. My income doubled.
Wow.
A matter of 6 months. And you and I were on some of that journey, learning journey together with some of the work that we were both doing. And
Yeah.
getting
Yeah. That's how we got reacquainted. So we know
yeah.
each other. Where do we know each other? And
We do.
I think I have an idea, which I'll tell you afterwards.
I don't know.
But
So
yeah.
that's where like I stopped, like big lesson for me, high and low as well. I stopped looking elsewhere for the right model. And yes, best practices are out there and they abound, and
Yeah.
that's helpful. Stop looking for the right solution, the perfect strategy, and stop feeling embarrassed or self-conscious by my own approaches, which are quite unique. I'm more of a quieter leader, more observant than I am kind of expressive in all situations. I felt my models weren't as sophisticated as those published in Harvard Business Review and in Forbes magazine, but or some other well-respected, peer-reviewed
Yeah.
journal. But and I felt very energized by my own sort of life-affirming practices and approach to my business, which was more grounded in my principles and my values, and sat down with my team and we really defined our models and our ways of working that are redefining how the work gets done in the workplace, the ways that we approach our work.
And
So
I remember at one point where we were talking about your strategies and evolving your company, and I thought, this lady's got some really great ideas, you know. And I will validate the ideas that you need to discover who you are, your journey, and you make it your own. And people who listen know about my Rev Up concept. And it basically is the roadmap to how my husband and I created that best workplaces in Canada, because we wanted to create this. Wouldn't it be nice if people love what they do, love where they work, you know? How novel is that? And of course, everybody says, you can't do that. It won't happen. And we said, no, it can happen. And then they'll say, oh, well, you started from scratch. You know, you built it. You didn't have to. I'm sorry. You have to know what you think is right. You need to do it. It doesn't happen overnight, slowly, one employee at a time, etc. And when I came up with the term Rev Up as a concept to articulate it, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but at first I was thinking, it is Rev Up, but you know, I got to hold on to it because I'm not ready to teach it out there in the world. So I held it quietly for 2 years, and then I was ready. But today, I own it. It's in my DNA. I know it's the right thing for people to embrace a Rev Up concept if they want to motivate, uplift people. And you can hear the passion I talk about it. But I own that. For the 2 years now, that DNA Rev Up is being part of me. And that is my authentic self. That's what I offer. And I concur with you. Get coaching, identify what you need to do. Cherry pick those things, but don't own somebody's thing. Create what you think is right, and you'll be happier. You know, you and I are smiling and talking joy, but our goal today is really to help other entrepreneurs learn from some of the things of our journeys.
Yes, and that trusting of myself, it took me a while to get there, you know, kept looking for the right thing elsewhere, looking outside for the model, the approach, the technique that would be the one to make it happen, and not suggesting that there isn't a lot to learn from others out there, but there's a lot to learn internally, inwardly from ourselves, and really trusting and taking the time to learn that, to excavate that, right? What is it that matters? What has heart and meaning? What are the principles that drive your work? And then, of course, you know, you asked about sort of lessons learned. There is the mechanics of running a business. And so I'm at a particular stage of business of scaling a business. And so I'll offer that things like, you know, understanding your customers, really intimately understanding your customers' needs and expectations, like getting really grounded in and staying connected, being mindful of your head, you know, keeping your head lifted up and staying in conversation with customers. I've lost sight of that sometimes, and particularly in challenging times where there's lots of internal things we're working through, and I kind of lose sight of that. We're in this economy that we're in right now. In a downturn, there is that, you know, that tendency to want to shift away from clients and get into survival mode, right? How do I survive? What do I do to survive? The staying in connection can has helped me to actually see where the opportunities are to reposition my business. And to be flexible in that responsiveness. And it doesn't mean I've changed my model entirely, but it's to shift the emphasis in one or more areas of my
And
business.
it's being nimble and open. It's being
Yeah.
nimble and open. And I think that's the beauty of a smaller company than a large corporate company. Their ability to shift with the wind and changing times is much harder than us. And I think it reinforces that we need to keep evolving, keep listening. And
Yes.
I think during COVID, you know, we both had an opportunity to be part of a group community. And I would strongly suggest that networking, finding your community, because it is hard, whether you're a corporate VP or you're a CEO of your own company, it's lonely at the top and you can't always talk to people. As an entrepreneur, your family doesn't only wants to hear 3 seconds of what you're doing. and then it goes over their head and they go glassy eyed anyways. And that's the same as a CEO of any size company, is you need fellow entrepreneurs, CEOs, to be able to talk the talk, to feel comfortable in that community and trust that community, to be able to really help yourself grow, to help you understand risks, overcome risks, celebrate the joys of successes. And I
Yes.
was fortunate. I think in COVID, I had 2 or 3 women's groups I belonged to. And this was the lifeline. This was what I knew was happening out there, because I can hear it from other people experience it, that I'm not alone. And it gave me the strength and support to keep moving on. So
So helpful.
power of networking and power of community.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in, there are different names for them, but I've been a part of a mastermind group, for example, since 2001, since previous to starting, just around starting my business. So 2001, and we've met almost every month, sometimes weekly, like during COVID, as a group, and then other groups I've been a part of with other entrepreneurs and women and others to really learn and grow together. So helpful. As you said, for support, sharing ideas, resources, and sometimes just being validated, right? Like just
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have someone listen and go, yes, yes, what you're seeing and experiencing is real. You know, Hilda, I find sometimes though, I just want to emphasize an important lesson that I've learned, and I say in these latter years, these last few years, I've been much more involved in this, but it's really understanding your business model. You know,
mhm,
it's one thing to look at your balance sheets, your financial statements quarterly, and look at cash flow, but to understand, your cost structure, to understand profitability, understand where your revenue is being earned, and regardless of size of organization, I think what I've learned is, how much time and attention can be put into understanding your cost structure, and how where the variables are in that business model, that can grow and expand in certain types of markets, along with your strategy as a business. I find sometimes there's that underemphasis. There's a lot of talk about vision and purpose and
yeah.
alignment.
And
Getting into the nuts and bolts of the business is really critical as well.
I think a lot of people start a business for something that they're passionate about, or
Yes,
something that they're purpose driven about.
yes,
Um,
yes.
if it's not being made, I'm going to make it myself, right? And that's how they get into a business. But there's all the other aspects of running the business. The financial part, the infrastructure part, the clients and marketing and sales. And a lot of people don't stay the course because they're not good at it. But you need to recognize, what are you good at? What aren't you good at? How can you succeed? And bring on the people that you either don't love that aspect of the job, or you're not good at it. That will then build that balance to build the growth and support you in that. We've been talking a while, and I think people are probably thankful for all of the anecdotes that we've given them to think about. And either they're saying, yeah, I know what they've been through, and I get that I'm not alone, or wow, I never thought about that. So I'm hoping people are just, really interested in what we've shared with them. Is there any final shares from you before we
Yeah,
we thank them for listening and learning
for
from
sure.
our
Well,
experiences?
we touched on so many things, and and certainly this is like a snapshot. There's so many things we could talk about. And maybe we'll come back again and have another conversation, Hilda. But this
Not before my 200th, okay?
this has been delightful. But I think the other thing is, again, depending on, those who are listening, and depending on the types of business models they have, but I don't want to emphasize the power of the team, and
Yeah.
the finding and really connecting and working with a tremendous team of individuals. That's been my joy, whether
I
they're
can see
employees or
when you talk about
contractors.
your team and the collaborative things and with clients, the joy, the sparkle in the eyes and the face and the cheeks just light up for sure, for sure.
That's one thing I want to end on that note, and the power of working collaboratively as a team and learning and growing together. Again, regardless of whether they're employees or contractors, but really taking that time to build relationships internally in the
Yeah.
supports that help you fulfill your business. Could be your accountant, could be your lawyer, but building those relationships as you work your business and implement your business and kind of do your day-to-day contributions. The value of your team and the relationships you build, the culture of your organization, really an important area to put attention to.
Thank you for sharing that, because it is the team that brings part of the joy of the journey. And so I'm going to add a final anecdote because I think it's a powerful message. I talk about Rev Up and how in hindsight I coined that phrase, but during our company as an engineering company, it was called iTrans, if anybody's interested. During the growth and the development of iTrans, I worked hard to create that place where people love what they do, love where they work. And so I knew that part of that success was there. And I came back, somebody organized a reunion, and I came back and said, oh, I'm at this crossroads. I'm deciding whether I want to join a new company because I'm not happy where I am, or start my own business. And then they looked at me like I was a first-time parent. And they said, almost like, silly girl, don't you know there'll never be another iTrans? And when they said that, I thought, they're teaching me something as a parent almost. And I looked around that room and I thought, oh my God, all of these people were ambassadors of this love what you do, love where you work. Each one of them was spreading that camaraderie, that sense of joy, and welcoming each other and being part of a team. And that day I realized, oh my God, we hired people that believed in creating a place that would be a joyful. So I had to add that anecdote because I saw the joy on your face, and I think more entrepreneurs should take it seriously, that the people they hire, if they invest in them and they show that they care, they're going to stay on, and you're going to have this wonderful team that you're so proud of, and a business that you're so proud of, because your clients get such great service from these people that really care about giving you what you need. So I'm sorry I'm ending on that note, but it is a joyous journey about when you do develop a team. What's next for you?
Well, so much. I mean, we're in 2024 now, and as a company, we are launching new services and programs this year, but continuing to deepen and strengthen what we do. So I think that's it's a constant journey. We're in our 24th year of business, so the year ahead, includes, I'll offer some more looking at ways we can offer services that are kind of responding to what's happening in the marketplace right now. Some of it feels like we're still in development. It's a bit of an IP secret what we're developing, but there's that. Looking at some of the realities of the marketplace right now and offering some services that respond to that. I'm spending more time in the strategy space these days with clients, so that is that's an emphasis for our firm. And I will offer, well, it's March currently. I'm already planning my vacation and time off in the summer because downtime is so important. So we're really looking forward to that. Sorry,
You forgot to mention that as part of the entrepreneur journey. Make time for vacation.
Those are the things that are coming to mind, but certainly as a company, looking at some new services that we're going to be launching this year, and really in response to what's happening in the markets that we're working in right now. So there's internal time around R&D and pilot testing with a few clients, and then looking at the skill sets we need to deliver that internally as a company. And that's exciting. I love the building. I love the exploring. I love the creating. And I have team members who really, bring a wealth of experience in different disciplines that like to do that as well. So it's fun to do it together.
Cool. How do people get a hold of you, Jan?
Well, I'm easily found on LinkedIn. It's Jan Campbell. Our website is strategysense.com. So you can look there, www. And my email address is jcampbell@strategysense. That's strategy with an I, sense.com. So feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from your audience.
Well, thank you. It was a delight for us to talk about our entrepreneurship and to share stories, which I think is going to help people who are entrepreneurs hearing other people's journeys so that they know they're either not alone or they can learn some of the things that they should be thinking about and moving forward with. So thank you very much for being part of my 100th special
Oh,
episode.
and congratulations again. Thank you for having me here, Hilda. It was just delightful, and I always learn so much from you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And for those of you who are my viewers and listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, which I did, give it a thumbs up, give it 2 thumbs up. And if you would like to subscribe, you know how to do that because everybody tells you that on their podcast. So thank you again for taking the time and listening to our experiences as entrepreneurs. And hopefully that helps you in your journey as entrepreneurs. Rev up your business, everybody. Thanks. Thank you for tuning in to Rev Up Your Business with Hilda Gann. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and Spotify to stay up to date with all of our latest episodes. For more HR tips, strategies, and to learn how you can create a people-centric workplace, visit our website at peoplebrightconsulting.com.